Alright, right, I've been I've been saying that I'm going to do a video for a while. If you go on the Facebook page for the Opinionated Review, saying what my thoughts or the benefits are. Well, not the benefits, but if you've got an iPhone and you're thinking of switching over to Android, which is what I did. I had the first generation iPhone, the second, the third. So I had the 2G, 3GS and the 4, not the 4S. And I made the leap across to Android. I went first of all to a phone that was a bit underpowered, the Galaxy S. Then I went back to iPhone, then I came back again for the Galaxy S2 and stuck with it and made the change. But when I initially came over, I found that it just wasn't quite there. It wasn't slick enough, it was too stuttery, it wasn't an iPhone, and I was that used to being stuck in that little iPhone world, that little ecosystem, which is quite hard to break out of initially. At first when you try Android, you see Android, you're like, yeah, well, but, you know, this is better because I've got this and my iTunes and everything like that. So I just made a few notes on the benefits. According to me, this is my opinion. I'm not saying iPhones are bad, I'm not saying Android's better, I'm not saying any of that. It's all good technology. I love the iOS and Apple phones. I like the Android phones just as much, but I just prefer them at the moment. And there's a good chance that I'll go back to iPhones at some point. I'm just saying, in my opinion, these are the good and bad points that I think about these operating systems, these phones. So first of all, the good points about iOS, in my opinion, they're extremely slick and smooth, buttery smooth, very, very nice experience when you're on it. And I mean, this applies for switching either way, to be honest, and if it helps you. So number one, they're very, very slick and smooth. Number two, the App Store is very, very safe. Everything has to be approved by Apple, so you've got not much chance of malware or anything that's going to rip you off. If there is anything like that, it gets stopped pretty quickly. Number three, the App Store, again, there's a lot more apps in there than there are for anything else, although Android one is catching up now, but generally speaking, if there's an app, if you've got an iPhone and you want an app on anything, you'll pretty much be able to get it. Number four, solid quality hardware. iPhones, whether you struggle with the antenna gate or anything, you get a case, they're very, very nice hardware. They're very, very well made. Exceptional pieces of kit. Five, I think, regular updates from iOS, from the App Store, from Apple, whatever, and you don't need to connect to iTunes anymore, which was going to be a bad point, a bugbear, but now you can just get over-the-air updates. You generally know when the updates are coming out, and there's big announcements, and they usually introduce new things, and it's something to look forward to, and you know you're at, as opposed to the fragmented version of Android. You never really know when you're going to get upgraded unless you're on a Nexus. And number six, excellent accessory range. You've got the speaker docks, the cases, headphones, everything that you need and want, although they are rumoured to be changing the dock pin at the bottom. But at the moment, and I'm sure in the future, excellent range of accessories for it. Now, bad points for iOS. Again, in my opinion, one thing that bugs me when I have the iPad and the iPhone is when you get notifications on the top, you know, the new sort of drop down, well, it's probably not that new now. If you answer them on one device, even with this iCloud syncing, they don't clear on the X device. So when you pick up your iPad, you've got all the notifications, you have to manually clear them and select them. I just like the fact that if I read something, it's gone from everywhere, especially with the whole cloud syncing thing. So it's a tiny thing, but my attention to detail of certain things is really fussy, and that thing used to really bug me that my iPad apps notifications didn't clear. Number two, you're limited to Apple's decisions, not your own. All you can have is a very limited look and feel. You've got the folders and the main icons on the desktops, and you can whiz along. You've got your search screen and your main desktops. You don't have the widgets or the customization, although you can change the wallpaper on the lock screen and on the home screen, but that's about it. So you can't customize the device as much as I'd like to. Number three, ordinary features seem to take a long time to come out. Like, going back a long time, like Exchange integration with email, you were talking version 2. Video chat has only just, or it's about to come out in iOS 6 over 3G instead of just Wi-Fi. All these little things that Apple have announced, and now we can close programs, and everyone's like, but generally what they do bring out has been around in every other operating system for a long time, so they're quite late with bringing these default, fairly standard features. Number four, it's only apps, no widgets, which again sort of comes up to the customization thing. Yeah, when you pull the notification tab down, there's a weather one and a stocks one. Stocks, does anyone really use that? Really? Five, it's a stale operating system in my opinion. It hasn't really changed since 2007. Yeah, they've introduced new features, like I said before, cut and paste, this, that and the other, but generally speaking, it looks the same. It hasn't had a revamp. It's almost as if they need to, you know, in the Mac OS, they went from OS 9 to OS 10, they rebuilt it from the ground up. I think they really need to just shake it. I mean, it's not all about being new and fresh and interesting. It's about working and being quick and slick and nice. But this is the noughties or whatever. People want change and new and interesting and fast and now. And for me, it's just plain and dull, to be honest. But that's just me. Number 6, the basic settings are buried too deep. For instance, turn on Bluetooth, turn on Wi-Fi, turn off 3G data. You can't get a widget or a gadget or a toggle switch or a pull down button. You've just got to go into settings, and then if you've got pages and pages of apps, you have to search for settings and then go into settings. Yeah, it's only a few presses, but I just like to be able to pull down my notification drawer, turn Wi-Fi off, or something along those lines. I just think that the default settings should just be very quick to access. Yeah, you can double tap the home button and bring it up. I have had first iPad, the second iPad, and I've had loads of different iPhones, so I do know, I'm not just giving my opinion, I have used these things, and in my opinion, these options are buried too deep. And number 7, limited options for sharing information. For instance, again, in iOS 6 they're saying that now you can share via something else, but basically with Android, I know this isn't about Android, but you can't just sort of, right, I've installed Dropbox, share via Dropbox, although I think you can with Dropbox, but generally speaking, you're restricted. Anything you install on an Android device, you can share it by all these different methods and near-field communication, send it by this, send it by that, upload it to Drive. You can share with anything you install. The list is pretty much endless.